Billionaire Boy, Chapter 16. Peter Bread. "The witch is dead," sang a spotty little boy. "Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead." It wasn't even registration time, but already the news was spreading across the school like flu. "What do you mean?" asked Joe, as he took his seat in his classroom. On the other side of the class he could see Bob looking over at him with a pained expression. "Probably jealous about Lauren," thought Joe. "Haven't you heard?" said another even spottier boy behind him. "Spite's been sacked." "Why?" asked Joe. "Who cares?" said a slightly less spotty boy. "No more boring history lessons." Joe smiled, then frowned. He hated Miss Spite and her tedious lessons like everybody else, but wasn't sure she had done anything to deserve losing her job. Even though she was horrible, she was actually a good teacher. "Spite's been sacked," blurted Joe to Lauren as she walked in. "Yes, I heard," she replied. "It's brilliant news, isn't it?" Well, I suppose so," said Joe. "I thought that's what you wanted. You said you couldn't stand her." "Yes, but—" Joe hesitated for a moment. "I just feel a bit, sorry for her." Lauren pulled a dismissive face. Meanwhile, a gang of fierce-looking girls were sat on desks at the back of the class. The smallest of the group was pushed over in Lauren's direction as the others looked on smirking. "Got any pot noodles, then?" she asked, much to the amusement of the gang. Lauren shot a look at Joe. "I don't know what you mean," she protested. "Don't lie," said the girl. "You look different in it, but I well reckon it's you." "I have no idea what you're talking about," said Lauren, a little flustered. Before Joe could speak, a young man in old man's clothes entered the classroom and took his position uncertainly by the blackboard. "Simmer down, please," he said quietly. No one in the classroom took any notice except Joe. "I said simmer down, please." The new teacher's sentence was barely more audible than the first. Still, none of the other kids took any notice. In fact, if anything, they started making even more noise than before. "That's better," said the little man, trying to make the best of it. "Now, as you may know, Miss Spite isn't here today." "Yeah, she's been given the boot," shouted a loud fat girl. "Well, that's not— well, yes, it is true," the teacher continued in his faint monotone. "Now, I am going to be taking over from Miss Spite as your form teacher, and also teach you history and English. My name is Mr. Bread." He began writing his name neatly on the board. "But you can call me Peter." Suddenly there was quiet, as 30 little brains whirred. "Peter Bread!" proclaimed a ginger-haired boy from the back. A huge wave of laughter crashed over the classroom. Joe had tried to give this poor man a chance, but he couldn't help but laugh. "Please, please, can I have some quiet?" pleaded the unfortunately named teacher. But there was no use. The whole class was in uproar. The new form teacher had committed the biggest blunder any teacher can make, having a silly name. This is a serious point. If you have a name like any of those in the list below, it is very, very important you do not become a teacher. Sudoku, Tom Atto, Just in Case, Kneel Down, Will Ing, Bob Head, Pterodactyl, Clairvoyant, Malformed, Rachel Prejudice, Monolot, Her Behind, I'm a Hog, Carol Singer, Dictate, Donkey, Rhoda Camel, Robin Banks, Feel Excited, Geriatric, Be a Problem, Maya Bumreeks, Anita Bath, Sue Age, Marcus Absent, Algebra, Barbara Blacksheep, Kitty Litter, Mary Christmas, Jim Class, Doris Closed, Doris Locked, Wayne Deer, Dandruff, Humphrey Dumpty, Stand Up, Cliffhanger, Hugh Idiot, Lee King, Manual Labour, Ruth Lees, Woolly mammoth, marshmallow, watermelon, hazelnut, look out, stupid, lollipop, chuck up. Seriously, don't even consider it. The kids in your class will make your life a living hell. Now back to the story. Right, said the unfortunately named teacher, I am going to take the register. Adams, don't forget. Tara Maslata, shouted a skinny blonde-haired boy. The laughter swept up again. I did ask for quiet, said Mr. Beard. Oh, Ted Zeke, hollered another kid. The laughter was deafening now. Peter Bread put up his hand. Joe could almost feel sorry for him. This grey little man's life was going to be an utter misery from this day forward. Oh, no, thought Joe. We're all going to fail our exams. Chapter 17. A knock on the toilet door. There are a number of things you don't want to hear when you sit on the toilet. A fire alarm, an earthquake, the roar of a hungry lion in the next cubicle, a large group of people shouting, "Surprise!" to you, the sound of the entire toilet block being demolished by a giant wrecking ball, the clicking sound of someone taking a photograph, the sound of an electric eel swimming up the U-bend, someone drilling a hole in the wall, JLS singing, admittedly that you wouldn't want to be welcome at any time, a knock on the door. The last one was exactly what Joe heard at break time, when he took a seat in the boys' toilet. Rat-a-tat-tat! To be clear, that isn't a knock at your door, readers. It's a knock on Joe's toilet door. Who is it? Asked Joe, irritated. It's Bob, replied. Yes, you've guessed correctly, Bob. Go away, I'm busy, said Joe. I need to talk to you. Joe pulled the chain and opened the door. What do you want? He said angrily as he made his way to the sink. Bob trailed after him, munching on a bag of crisps. It was only an hour since he'd been eating chips like everyone else, but obviously Bob got hungry very easily. You shouldn't eat crisps in a toilet, Bob. Why not? Because I don't know, because the crisps wouldn't like it. Joe whacked the tap on to wash his hands. Anyway, what do you want? Bob put the bag in his trouser pocket and stood behind his former friend. He looked into Joe's eyes in the mirror. It's Lauren. What about her? Joe had known it. Bob was just jealous. Bob looked away for a second and took a deep breath. I don't think you should trust her, he said. Joe turned around, shaking with fury. What did you say? He shouted. Bob stepped away, taken aback. I just think she's what? She's fake. Fake? Joe felt white hot with fury. Lots of the other kids reckon she's an actress. They said she's in some advert or something. And I saw her out with this other boy at the weekend. What? Joe, I think she's just pretending to like you. Joe put his face next to Bob's. He hated being this angry. It was scary being so out of control. Say that again. Bob backed away. Look, I'm sorry. I don't want to fight. I'm just telling you what I saw. You're lying. I'm not. You're just jealous because Lauren likes me and you're a fatty with no friends at all. I'm not jealous. I'm just worried for you. I don't want you to get hurt. Yeah, said Joe. You sounded really worried about me when you called me a spoiled brat. Honestly, Just leave me alone, Bob. We're not friends anymore. I felt sorry for you and talked to you, and that was that. What did you just say? You felt sorry for me? Bob's eyes were wet with tears. I didn't mean, what, because I'm fat? Because the other kids bully me? Because of my dad? Bob was shouting now. No, I didn't mean... Joe didn't know what he meant. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a wad of £50 notes and offered them to Bob. Look, I'm sorry. Here you go. Buy your mum something nice. Bob knocked the money out of Joe's hand and the notes fell onto the damp floor. How dare you? What have I done now? Protested Joe. What's the matter with you, Bob? I'm just trying to help. I don't want your help. I don't want to ever speak to you again. Fine. And you are the one people should feel sorry for. You're pathetic. Bob stormed out. Joe sighed, then got down on his knees and started picking up the wet banknotes. That's ridiculous, said Lauren later with a laugh. I'm not an actress. I don't think I'd even get a part in the school play. Joe tried to laugh too, but he couldn't quite. They sat together on the bench in the playground, shivering slightly at the cold. Joe found it hard to say the next sentence. He did and didn't want to know the answer. He took a deep breath. Bob said he saw you with some other boy. Is that true? What? Said Lauren. At the weekend, he said he saw you out with someone else. Joe looked straight at her, trying to read her face. For a moment she seemed to retreat to the back of her eyes. He's a liar, she said after a moment. I thought so, said Joe, relieved. A big fat liar, she continued. I can't believe you were even friends with him. Well, it was only for a bit, squirmed Joe. I don't like him any more. I hate him, lying pig. Promise me you won't ever speak to him again, said Lauren urgently. Well, promise. I promise, he replied. A wicked wind whipped through the playground.